Today I'll be talking about the Indian Rebellion of 1857. So, the rebellion was caused because of the unrest that the British rule and takeover caused. So, going over to the India side, specifically the causes were that the East India betrayed the princes of India. Well, the East Indian Company betrayed the princes. And the British Army commanders were very insensitive towards the religious and social conventions that were already set. An example of this is when the British Army, made the Hindus and Muslims of India bite off cartridges made out of beef and pork lard, and they reinforced this by punishing those who did not do it. Punishment was very severe. This is so unfair because it generally goes against their religion, what they believe, and that is not all right. So, the first mutiny was May 10th, 1857 at Meerut, and it spread to Delhi on May 11th. The biggest centers of revolt were at Gangetic Plain in Delhi, Lucknow, Kanpur, with portions of Deccan and Punjab joining the rebellion. So this is the British side over here. The British had strongholds in Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. These places were not under threat though. Sorry, this is my attempt at a British flag. But along with the main rebellion, rural rebellions were also spreading across the state. So that put a lot of pressure on the British. Delhi was recaptured by the Brits in September 1857, but the war was still going strong in the north and central until 1858. There's tons of racism and violence that both sides committed against each other. Peace was announced July 1858. However, Lakshmi Bai and Nana Shib held out longer than that. The consequences of this were that were were that the East India Company lost control of India, and it forced a reorganization of the British India military. So we're in the government building, and after the passage of the Government of India Act in 1858, it gave British direct control of the colony referring to India. After this, they did do some reforms that gave Indians more of a say in the government. However, in the end, the British still had control over them. And the reason why British wanted India was because of all the natural resources they had that would be very useful to them.
Choose your character.
All of the cattle are getting sick and the maize fields are dying before the corn is able to ripen.
Moo.
At this rate, we will die of famine if we do not do something about this.
I think everything is dying because of European sickening spirits, so we should rid ourselves of the Europeans. Also, we should kill the cattle because they are cursed with sickness. We do not want any more sickness in our jolly Penfield land.
No.
We must turn to our ancestors and remain faithful that they will arise and help us defeat the British and run them out of our lands. Once we have our land back, new cattle herds will be brought to us by our ancestors and grain bins will be refilled.
Balakazat's mates had a vision that once we kill the cattle, there will be a day of resurrection. And after a day, there will be no more sickness and poverty will cease.
So we just have to be patient and wait.
3 days later.
After 3 days, when nothing occurred, the plan collapsed. It turns out the reason the cattle were dying was because of a lung sickness brought in from Europe called contagious bovine pleromia. Close to 80% of our cattle were slaughtered, resulting in about 40,000 of our people dying of hunger. We lost two-thirds of our land, and many survivors were forced to seek refuge because British took over when we were weak and vulnerable. Shaka Zulu created and expanded the Zulu kingdom, and they quickly came into conflict with the Boers, who were migrating into the Blood River. The Boers established a colony in South Africa and tried to claim Zulu lands. When diamonds were discovered in this area, the British became interested in the Zulu region, so they expanded their territory around the diamond-rich area. Later, the British government declared war on the Zulu, and the Zulu won with the help of their short spears, which is amazing considering they are the only African nation who successfully defeated the British. Shortly thereafter, a British trading post was attacked, but this time the British came out successful against the Zulu. Because of this, the Zulu had lost many numbers, and the British had been gathering troops and reinforcements, leading to the defeat of the Zulus during the Battle of Kambula. The British launched their second invasion and made it all the way to the capital. Equipped with heavy artillery, they destroyed the Zulus. Its lands were later incorporated into the British colonies and divided into 13 regions, where the Zulu further declined until they were included in the Natal province.
Choose your character.
Stop, put your hands in the air. You are now arrested for the charges of excessive cruelty against the local populace, and the punishment is death. Now come with me. This man has harmed the local population for a long time, and his time has now come. Does anybody have any objections? No? Kick the stool. After Antonio Arriaga was executed, the Tupac Amaru rebellion started. It first started with the small things, like burning down textile mills here and there, and some haciendas. Now, man, burn this vile thing down! Then it started to go into full-on battle with the Spaniards. Battle. Charge! After battle. You got this, man! And some more battles after. Now the upper and south of Peru fear me, as they should, and my beautiful wife is doing a fabulous job keeping the rebels in order. Alright, if we rebels keep this up, we might actually succeed in defeating the Spaniards and get them to finally leave us alone. We are so sick and tired of their higher taxes, unfair treatment, and ridiculous demand for tribute. Now, time to go fight some more wars. However, Tupac Amaru did not know that this specific battle would be his last. No, men, don't retreat. Keep fighting if I'm not there, you cowards. After Tupac was taken captive, he had to watch his whole family be executed and tortured in front of him. It was a gruesome scene. But now, it was his turn. Tupac Amaru was defeated in his home region of Tinta, betrayed and captured on April 6, 1781. Tupac Amaru had several family members, and they were taken to Cusco for interrogation and trial. On May 18th, Tupac Amaru witnessed Spanish authorities torturing and executing his family members, including his beloved wife. Then, in the same city that had witnessed the execution of the first Tupac Amaru, the rebel leader was quartered, or pulled apart by 4 horses. While the Tupac Amaru rebellion failed, due to the lack of support beyond the indigenous sector of society, Tupac Amaru would become a symbol of resistance to oppression throughout Latin America.
Choose your character.
The Opium Wars. The Opium Wars was a British and Chinese conflict. The British wanted more Chinese goods, but the Chinese did not require as many foreign things in their economy. So the British were paying a lot for stuff like china and silk. Britain was unhappy with the profit that they were making off of the Chinese market, so they decided to introduce opium to China. The British had a lot of opium, but due to its addictive qualities, it was something that was really not encouraged to be sold in the country. So they sold it in foreign places like China so they could make a profit while not hurting their own population. They were selling it and were making a massive profit in China. It was a huge success for the British, but the Chinese got upset with Britain and asked them to stop selling opium, but British refused, so they went to war. At one point, the British snuck 8 million pounds of opium into China, which is around $18 million for the time. There was also an aggression towards foreigners in China at the time, so that also helped fuel the war. The British technology was too advanced, and the Chinese ultimately lost after a 4-year struggle. The Treaty of Nanjing gave the British rights to basically everything they wanted because the Chinese were defeated. Some of the statuaries in this treaty were that the British no longer had to pay taxes and that they were able to keep a colony in China for almost 100 years. It was a humiliating defeat for the Chinese, but it did encourage them to have a revamp of their country, and this led to them becoming more industrialized.